Every company operating in Vietnam, from newly established foreign invested enterprises to long-standing manufacturers, faces one unavoidable reality. Labor compliance is not just a legal formality. It is the foundation of a sustainable business presence in Vietnam. With Vietnam's labor inspection programs becoming more frequent and more data-driven, the question for every employer is not whether you will be audited, it is whether you are ready. A single missing contract, unregistered internal labor rules, or unreported change in employment status can trigger administrative fines, compensation liabilities, or even suspension of operations. For many FDI companies, these issues begin quietly inside HR files, only to become expensive problems months later. Understanding what full compliance means under Vietnamese labor law is the first step to staying 100% legal. Vietnam's labor compliance system is structured around the labor code and its implementing regulations, including those governing foreign employees. It covers everything from recruitment to termination. To be compliant, employers must meet 5 pillars of obligations. First, labor contracts. Every employee must have a written, legally valid contract in Vietnamese or bilingual form. Second, internal labor rules. Companies with 10 or more employees must issue and register ILRs with the Department of Home Affairs. Third, reporting and insurance. Employers must declare labor usage, register salary scales, and pay mandatory insurance contributions. Fourth, employee relations. Workplace dialogue and collective bargaining are required for companies with organized employee representation. Fifth, data and safety. Protecting employee personal data and maintaining occupational safety are now legal obligations under Vietnamese law. Each of these pillars interacts. Missing one element often affects the others, creating compound non-compliance risk. Even experienced employers fall into similar traps. The most frequent mistake is assuming that internal global HR policies automatically meet Vietnam's local requirements. Many multinationals apply regional templates that conflict with local rules on probation, overtime, or termination. Another mistake is failing to register internal labor rules, thinking that posting a company handbook is sufficient. Without formal registration, disciplinary actions can be deemed invalid. A third issue arises when companies delay social insurance payments or misclassify employees as independent contractors. These practices may seem harmless until a labor inspection or employee complaint occurs. Finally, poor record keeping, missing labor reports, unsigned contracts, or outdated employee lists often leads to avoidable penalties. In short, compliance is not paperwork. It is about continuous management and documentation aligned with the law. Staying compliant in Vietnam requires a structured and proactive approach. First, conduct a labor compliance audit. This means reviewing all HR policies, labor contracts, and payroll records against the latest legal standards. Second, ensure that internal labor rules and collective agreements are registered, up to date, and communicated to all employees. Third, maintain bilingual labor contracts that clearly define job descriptions, compensation, and termination conditions. Fourth, report labor usage twice a year as required, by May 5th and December 5th, and ensure all mandatory insurance contributions are paid on time. Fifth, protect employee data under the regulations on personal data protection by limiting access, storing securely, and obtaining consent for data processing. Finally, prepare for inspections by keeping a compliance file with contracts, payroll, and reports organized and easily accessible. Employers who plan ahead rarely face legal risks. Those who react only when inspectors arrive often pay more in fines and disruption than preventive advice would ever cost. At LTS Law, compliance is not just about reading the law, it is about making it work in real business environments. Our team of labor lawyers, compliance auditors, and bilingual HR advisors has supported hundreds of FDI companies in manufacturing, technology, and services across Vietnam. We help clients design HR systems that meet both Vietnamese legal standards and international corporate governance principles. From drafting labor contracts and registering internal labor rules to preparing labor inspection responses, our approach is preventive, practical, and precise. LTS Law's Our Compliance Framework ensures that every document, every clause, and every procedure stands up to legal scrutiny. With this, employers gain more than compliance, they gain confidence. Consider a European manufacturer that recently expanded its operations in Ho Chi Minh City. During an internal audit, the company discovered that several labor contracts had expired, internal labor rules were never registered, and overtime payments were inconsistent. Instead of waiting for an inspection, they engaged LTS Law for a full compliance audit. Within 4 weeks, our team reviewed every HR document, restructured the labor contract templates, drafted new bilingual ILRs, and trained the HR department on legal reporting. When a government inspection followed 2 months later, the company passed without a single violation. The lesson is simple: prevention is cheaper than reaction. Beyond avoiding penalties, compliance brings strategic advantages. A compliant employer gains trust from employees, stability from authorities, and credibility with investors. It reduces turnover, enhances corporate reputation, and prevents disputes that could damage brand value. For multinational companies, demonstrating compliance with Vietnamese labor law also strengthens ESG and sustainability reports, which are increasingly demanded by global partners. In short, labor compliance is not an expense. It is an investment in operational certainty. Vietnam's Ministry of Home Affairs continues to tighten compliance enforcement. Digital reporting systems and cross-agency data sharing between labor, tax, and social insurance authorities will make it easier for regulators to detect inconsistencies. Employers who rely on outdated paper systems or informal HR practices will face higher exposure. Meanwhile, personal data protection under Decree 13 will expand oversight into HR systems, meaning companies must manage not only legal documents but also employee data integrity. As Vietnam integrates deeper into global trade frameworks, labor compliance will become a competitive requirement, not merely a legal one. Every employer wants peace of mind, knowing their operations are 100% legal under Vietnamese labor law. That is what LTS Law delivers. Whether you are setting up a new company, managing a workforce expansion, or preparing for an upcoming inspection, our team provides the legal clarity, documentation accuracy, and ongoing support you need. Contact LTS Law today to schedule your Vietnam labor compliance audit and safeguard your business for the long term. Stay compliant, stay confident, and let LTS Law be your trusted legal partner in Vietnam.